just kidding. I think it's going to be a 4-part series because I guess it takes me too long to get through these one-handed drills with all the distinctions I want to give. By the way, there's even more information in my beginner moves course. There's going to be a link somewhere on the screen and definitely in the description. I'm assuming you have watched part one, and you have the distinctions that I gave you in part 1. Now we're going to do the underhand. We'll do the same 5 drills. So it'll be chest high. Again, you're going front to back. Now, one thing for people to think about that may not be obvious, and if you're going to use a mirror, it's not just relevant, like if you're my mirror, it's not just relevant to stand like this, but it's also relevant to stand like this, because a lot of people when they start out do this like this. So this is the back plane, or supposed to be the back plane, but technically, if it were really the back plane, it would be behind the frame of your body. And what you want to learn to do is open up the body and have the shoulder be open sufficiently so that as you come from the front to back to here, you're pulling, notice how I'm pulling my elbow in toward the midline of my body. And you can also twist like this, which helps. You could do it all in the fingertips if you wanted, or in the wrist. I think a combination of using all of those is helpful. Regardless, be sure that you're not doing this, but you are doing this, and you're getting it all the way back behind the frame of your body. And this one, it goes from 12 o'clock here down to 6 o'clock there, and 12 o'clock here to the front. So what can be helpful, I've found with some students, is when it's back here at the 12 o'clock, if I tell them to scoop down into the right, for whatever reason, that seems to help some people. Then if we did them in the same order, the waist high one, this tends to be the easier of the two for most people, because I think because it's coming in toward your center, and I think it's a more intuitive motion. You'll notice at the bottom of the turn, the poi is coming in toward the butt crack. So if you were to do the same thing I said before with the circles, start by doing a pendulum like this, and not a pendulum like this. This is a pendulum where the pivot, where it's pivoting from my fingertip versus here where it's my elbow. That's the base of the pendulum. So it's a straight line in theory from, I'm not saying, I can't see it. I don't know if it's perfect or not, but trying to go from my elbow down to the tip of the ball and controlling that. Once you feel that, and do that with both versions, once you feel that, for this one you come in toward your butt crack to start it, right? So you're in your pendulum and then you come in toward your butt crack. If you're trying to practice the other direction and it feels easy suddenly, check and make sure you're in the correct direction so that you're not accidentally practicing the wrong version and not remembering to look. So once you can do these circles, again, I would say, 20 of them without hitting yourself, then what you can start to do is the front to back motion. If you looked at this from the side, it's sort of like your hand is fluttering from the front to the back. You'll notice my elbow is further from my body. I keep my elbow bent and it's not locked like this. So you want to avoid that. You want a nice loose motion. And again, as with the overhand version, you want the palm posterior, not anterior, throughout. So you're not doing this, you are doing this. This is a useful skill. I'm not saying it's not a thing, it is a thing. I'm just saying learning this one gives you more options later in your practice, and I think it's better to spend the time focusing on this technique. And hey, your mileage may vary. Just like the waist-high transition in overhand tends to be harder than the waist-high transition in underhand, it is also true that the head-high transition in overhand tends to be easier and in underhand tends to be harder. I think it's because you're pushing away from your center in both versions of the harder one versus pulling in toward it. Now, if you're struggling to get this motion up here, first of all, I would recommend looking at the wrist gesture itself. I've likened it to flamenco dancing, but if you haven't seen flamenco dancing, that's not useful. There's a lot of motion happening there. And then what can be useful is 2 drills, one where you hold this like this and practice trying to do that and look nice and loose and easy and like it's not effort, like you're not. So let me distinguish for you what efforting looks like. Notice the tightness of my fingers. I'm not open in my wrist anymore, the facial expression, the tension in my body, versus the looseness when I'm doing the circle. Note if you, I hope you can see, like this, not loose. This, loose. Not loose, loose. Anti-flow, flow, right? I'm allowing, there's an allowance that's happening here between, somebody was saying in a video earlier that they were, Sarah, I think you were asking earlier about your buzzsaw. And in the buzzsaw, you were saying it doesn't feel right. My suspicion is what's happening is it's catching on your finger, probably because you're gripping so tightly. Sometimes it seems counterintuitive, but a loosening of the grip, if it's too tight, can allow the poi give that bounces between your fingers. And it's not a gap. It's not like it's like this, but you're just not pinching as hard. So there's leeway for it to move in a way that just, it feels better when you get it. But in the beginning, because you're tense, you don't have enough control, you don't know what you're doing, and sometimes because you're afraid your poi are going to fall out of your hand, you tighten up in an effort to hold on. But sometimes you're just holding too tight and you need to just let it go a little, and in that it will open up for you. So this drill here is one of the 2 drills that you should be working on if you're struggling with it, where you're holding it here in front and you're just holding that circle. And then doing similarly the same thing back here, which my guess is mine is slightly tilted like that, because this is, I feel like, kind of hard to maintain straightness. There is a pumping of my arm like this as I'm doing it, but you also have to flick across the bottom to keep the plane vertical. And once you can do either of those for like a couple of reps, you might have an easier time getting this motion. But if you're struggling with it, you can start back down here at the chest and then incrementally move your hand up and in and in. And again, I want to differentiate. Doing it over the crown of your head is different than doing it out here. And I still want to remind you, when you're doing it out here, the poi passes in front of your face. So if your aim is off, you're much more likely to thwack your face than if your hand is here, where you'll notice the circle doesn't actually overlap my face anywhere. Next up, we're going to work with the floor and ceiling again. This is the corkscrew. So you're here making a circle that goes to the left, and at the top of the turn, that's how you're measuring it, not at the bottom closest to you, but at the part that's farthest from you, as if you're looking at a clock, the 12 o'clock point that you laid down like this. So at the 12, top, away from you, it's going left counterclockwise. And again, you're still doing that thing where you're doing a circle down below you and a circle up above you. A circle down below and a circle up above. And then a lot of people, when they start out, they're like, okay, I'm down here now. When you move, you're moving as you go across the front of the turn. You're going to move your hand up and out and around to come around your head. And then at that same time, the front of the turn, you're going to come down, and it's like you're tracing your hand through the clock. At 12, you start coming down. By 9, you're halfway down. By 6, you circle in front of you, and you're all the way down. And then you start going back up at 3, and then you're up top at 12. And then you just repeat that millions of times, and then you have your corkscrew. Next up, we are doing the weave prep. So you want to first start with the crossover drill, going from home to away, home to away. If you're struggling with this and you find that it's going really wide and you're like this, or if when you're doing it, you see something like your plane when you cross is like this, one thing that'll help is when the poi is on the away side, push down and forward, down and forward, down and forward. So if you were mirroring me right now and you're doing it with your left hand, now I would be mirroring you because I'm matching you. You still push down and forward, down and forward, down and forward. And again, you want to aim for being able to get your hand to come through this triangle of power as you're doing this motion side to side. And then once you can comfortably, and especially with underhand, I said this in the overhand video, but I should say it in the underhand video. especially here, people tend to do this where their hands start coming up high at their head, which can be a really beautiful movement later. But I recommend when you first start out that you learn how to control it and bring your hands in and down. So if you notice yourself going up and up and up, come back down to neutral. And if your hand keeps drifting up and up and up, come back down to neutral. Breathe into it, feel it down here. And I recommend you do all of these with your eyes closed, a blindfold, or both. And then, like many times, I recommend you do these drills a lot with your eyes closed also, or a blindfold, or both. And when I say a lot, I mean some uncountable 4-digit number. Now, I'm not saying you won't learn moves until you shouldn't learn moves until you finish these drills. I'm saying I think your practice will fundamentally be much stronger after you've hit some 4-digit number of repetitions of each of these things. Once you have the side to side and you have good control, and it's down here, then start doing 1 home, 2 away. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. And then you're going to add the other hand in. Where overhand went over the arm, under the arm, and back home, this one goes under the arm, over the arm, and home. So if you're struggling to get it under the arm, which I've seen a lot of people do, even though they can do this, something happens where they try and enter the other hand into it. Here's what I recommend you try. Start it in the home position, cross to the away position, take your hand as if you're being sworn in, and lower it down at the elbow so that the hand is now above, the empty hand is now above the hand that's spinning, and you're in the under position. Now from here, at the bottom of the turn, so when it's down here, you're going to bring the arm up and over the other arm. Now you have to remember when you do this, so if you imagine you're being sworn in before you bring the arm down, you want to remember that the arm can't go down like this. It has to go straight down on the plane that is closer to your body than the plane of the poi, or else if you go down the wrong way, it'll do that, right? So here, if you're still struggling after doing that, try it again. And then eventually, after continuing to do that, however many times you need to, you should be able to cross it underneath. Another way to think about it is crossing low, then high, then home. Low, then high, then home. Low, then high, then home. That completes video 2 of the 4-part series. You've now, in theory, done both overhand and underhand, the 5 drills in each direction with your left hand. Video 3 is overhand with the right hand, so please check that out next.